you've got to think that they would look to put down a marker and put in a performance ahead of what would ultimately turn out to be the the game that decides where the league leaders' shield goes. They'd want to be hitting that on some form, not like a stop-start performance against a team that's not really got a dog in the fight anymore.
It was a positive that they were able to pull out a win, I suppose, is how you would dress it up from a Hull FC standpoint, rather than being...
coming on defeat.
Yeah, at this time of the year, if you can win a tough game in a tough way, then that's okay, almost.
Yeah.
Like mentally, psychologically, because you might not be able to play fluid, brilliant football at Old Trafford, but if you win, doesn't matter.
True.
I think that's maybe the attitude that Hull will build from it.
Fair enough.
For Wakefield, though, to their credit, they've kept plugging away as the season has drawn to an end. Yeah.
There you go, good for them. Right, tell us about the game then, Mark. What do the stats tell us?
The numbers at least suggest that Hull were deserved winners. A number of small wins on a lot of the key categories, but 3 more breaks and 2% better team tackle success underline an overall better stat line. Fewer errors and penalties conceded too for Hull FC. So probably the fact that Wakefield kept it so close with numbers like penalties and errors and stuff going against them is a testament to their resilience, and it's something good that Chester and Keir can work with next year. Yeah,
they definitely got a good platform laid there, haven't they, for next season. Individually, who stood out for us?
Well, that man Marhate Fanua with a try, 134 metres. Mate, Danny Houghton, 1 try assist, 53 tackles.
Yeah, mate.
Scott Taylor, 165 metres. Liam Watts, 129 metres. On the other side of things, David Fafita had another impressive showing, 5 tackle busts, 140 metres. Mikhail Simon, 121 metres for the big Frenchman. Bill Tupu, 121 metres. Reece Lynn, 113 metres.
There you go. Okay, so we got some fan feedback on this one. Tyler Cass fan, unlucky Wakey against a Hull team nowhere near their best. Tough video referee decision from Bentham too. It could have been a totally different result. Rich Langley, the beast with the golden teeth, pulls out another special play. He means Fanua, doesn't he?
I'm guessing so, yeah.
Hope the Dream Team voting hasn't closed, as Mahi's got to be a serious consideration for one of the centre berths. Hull come from behind for the 15th time in 24 victories this year. It wasn't pretty, but I'll take ugly wins over pretty defeats any day. By the time this is read out, we'll know if the treble is still on, and it very much is, Richard. David Powell, he's at St David 2911. He said, what is the point of a video referee when errors so basic are made? Fair play. David
in the video referee's defence, I think it was a try, but it had gone up as no try, and it was a marginal call, and it wasn't like it was a pass. So if it was a pass, you couldn't rule on it, and what have you.
Yeah.
It was a knockdown, so...
My thoughts
and everything was in motion and stuff.
Yeah.
And when you... I suppose what it is it challenges the system that we operate with.
Well, that's what I was about to say. My thoughts on this is that we changed the orientation of it in a way, didn't we? With a view to empowering referees, or forcing referees almost, to make a decision. But what the byproduct of that has been is that by empowering referees to make decisions, we've almost disempowered the video referee to overturn it, because they're looking for sufficient evidence, aren't they? And it makes it... I think it makes the video referee's job harder, because they're looking at things a lot of the times and in all honesty are saying, I don't see enough to turn it over, but perhaps on the balance of probability it could be.
Yeah.
And that's the problem we've got now. Do you see what I mean?
But it levels the playing field between the non-TV and the TV games, because the non-TV game, that was a no try.
Yeah, absolutely. No,
that's what the ref's call was.
I agree with you. No, I completely take your point.
Really, the thing that we need to be doing is less video referee referrals. But this one was marginal. It was, and I suppose that's where, if you go back to very, very few, that's when video ref has free reign to decide would come back into it.
I would be interested to see whether or not people would prefer a bunker system, so that you've got a video ref at every game, which I know is unfeasible, given the state of the sport, or get rid of it altogether. and whether or not people would say, well, no, let's have the video ref, because there's times it could benefit us.
As soon as you get rid of it altogether, there'll be a decision that's very, very obviously wrong, but not seen live and seen straight away within seconds on Sky's replay, and it will cause a massive shitstorm. So whilst the notion of that's probably better than having it look silly sometimes, I sort of think the system we've got kind of is the better of three evils.
Do you reckon?
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. Okay. David Walker.
I would say that this week, though, wouldn't I?
This week? I'm surprised you don't want a video ref at every single game, Marcus. David Walker. Campbell's a good ref, but not so good. Tonight, Shaw stealing the penalty was outrageous. Players deserve the sin bin for that. Yeah,
there is a little bit more diving creeping in as well, isn't there? I talked about Reece Hanbury in the Wigan Widnes game, throwing himself all over from the mildest of touches, and it happens across the board. All teams are sort of doing. Dan Sargenson's done a bit of it in Wigan colours, so I'm not suggesting that my team don't do it at all. I'd like it to stop. It makes the referees' job even harder.
It's utterly stupid, and it's what
I would say is, how would you feel, Jamie Shaw, if it went the other way?
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. And listen, it's when I have these big debates at work, and like all the football lads and lasses are giving me grief for egg chasing and all that lot. One of the things I bring up is the fact that we don't dive and try and con penalties that way and what have you. And I can't, I want to be able to keep saying that. It's something I'm proud of in the sport I love. Leeds Robin, he just said, lucky FC tonight. The Electric Gigolo, Andy Barden, said, for a side that had no chance to make the top four, at least Wakefield Trinity made it competitive and good for the neutral. And our friend Scoot, Sarah Mackenzie, she said, such a boring match. Thought both disallowed tries were good. Ref had a terrible game. The result was the main thing for us, though. So at least she was able to tear herself away from her Kindle for long enough to see what the score was. Right, speaking of scores, over at the Halliwell Jones on Friday night, Mark, it was Warrington 28, Wigan 35, but that only tells part of the story. Gotta be this is, for me, I'm racking my brains to find a game I've enjoyed more this season from a neutral point of view, and I absolutely can't. The lead changed hands. We had pretty much every kind of exciting thing you can get in rugby league, and some controversy thrown into the mix as well. Wigan's result means that Warrington will face off against Hull at Hull on this Friday night to decide who is going to be minor premiers, which is a tremendous way to end the season.
Great that they've commissioned
regular season
winners' medals for the players this year. I think that
adds value.
Hopefully, gets rid of some of the people who call it the hubcap and that sort of thing, who seem to want to work within our sport but belittle it at every fucking opportunity they get.
To be fair, when they were making that trophy, they could have looked at that design and gone, it does look a little bit, because it's only about the size of an hubcap as well. It's not like they're lifting up,
People don't call the women's Wimbledon trophy final a hubcap, and it's a very similar trophy.
Yeah, I'll give you that. No, but I agree completely, and we should put some more weight behind it, and we should, and hopefully, and this goes some way to doing that in terms of adding some value to finishing first. But let's talk about the game, because so many talking points. From you lot losing Sam Powell early doors to Warrington losing.
Well, the start Wigan had as well with their attack. I mean, the attack was slick and effective, and got the ball out wide, and a good try was scored, and all the players were getting involved well with each other. People weren't getting in the way of each other. The forwards were making ground before getting the arm loose. Wigan's attack started even when they were still in the structured mode. It looked a bit more effective than it's done against a top side before this year.
Oh yeah, this was probably one of your most accomplished attacking performances this season.
Mostly because of how exciting we got in the second half, to be fair.
Well, you were at a point where you had to throw caution to the wind, really, didn't you? And you just kept going, and that was what was exciting for me to watch in the second half.
But then even you can talk about Warrington coming back into the game when they were down a man from what I thought was a harsh sin bin. The referee, for me, that was probably his first real mistake that I can think of in the game. And then I don't think he got a lot right until he made the right call on the Ben Flower decision. I think in between that, there was obviously some penalties that were given that were penalties, and some things that were penalties that weren't given. But it felt like he'd lost his. He started to make a few make-up calls. It felt like maybe that's just me as a Wigan fan, but hands were around balls. Yeah, it was going Warrington's way for a while. Warrington were getting in his ear, like Wigan have been accused of getting in referees' ears earlier this year. No one seems to be giving a shit when it's Chris Hill doing it, and against Wigan, and I think the referee, it took him to have a major moment for him and his staff to make a major decision and get it right to get them back on track. And I think after that, the game flowed a lot better, and both teams were allowed to get away with the right sort of stuff to make the game more entertaining and the speed of the game better, as it had been before that spell as well.
No, I agree. From a neutral point of view, it felt to me like that we were getting kind of a score evening, because I don't think that Rashford should have gone to the bin, really. I think it was harsh. I think it was a very, very harsh.
I agree with it being a penalty because he was late, but I think he wasn't deliberately late to try and slow the play of the ball down, so I don't think it was a professional foul. I just think he got there a little bit after the tackle was made, not meaning to. Darryl Clark in the first half.
Phenomenal.
Well, Chris Hill in the first half until the last 5 minutes.
But then you can give Chris Hill some credit in that last 5 minutes. And he's normally had to sit down by then, hasn't he? He put some big minutes in this game too.
Yeah, I thought Westerman's try was an excellent run. It'd be very difficult for any defence to stop that. The line he picked out, the way when he got on the ball, he was so well balanced to sort of spin off the Sam Tompkins tackle. I thought that was brilliant play, as well as the Tierney opening score. And not many teams beat Wigan down the middle with tries, and Warrington did it a couple of times in that spell in the first half when they found their way back into the game after a very good Wigan start. One of the things that Wigan didn't do so well at that time was field positional kicking, but one of the things Warrington did do very well, and it's kind of a boring tactic, but when they do it as well as they do it, it becomes exciting because it's Darryl Clark doing it, and Darryl Clark's such a effervescent player. But running from dummy half, but it was exciting because Darryl Clark does it in an exciting way, I think.
I agree. So let's talk Ben Flower. There's not an argument to say he deserved to stay on, is there? It was just a late, cheap shot, really, wasn't it?
It's a red card. It was careless, bordering on reckless. I don't think his intent when he started what he was doing was to catch Declan Patton, and I also don't think he meant to get him with an elbow in the face, because I don't think he wanted to get sent off, and I think he knows that would be a sending off because he's not stupid.
Knows a thing or two about sending off.
No, he doesn't. He knows one thing about sending off. He's only ever been sent off once. Let's not. No, this is the problem. Ben Flower does something 2 years later, and all of a sudden he's a hooligan and is a disgrace to the sport. He was a disgrace to the sport for 1 second of one game ever. Right? This sort of thing happened, and it was dirty, and it wasn't appropriate, and it was a red card. He's jumped, he's lost control of, he's missed the opportunity to block any sort of kick, and he's just thought, right, well, I'll sort of barge into him. I don't think he's meant to elbow him in the neck. That's the outcome of it, so he deserves whatever's come into it.
Yeah, I agree, and I think the thing that goes in mitigation for him is that if you watch it in slow motion, it does look a lot worse than it does kind of in normal time, but in slow motion you see him kind of follow the ball with his eye line. So I almost feel that kind of, if he'd kept his eye on Dec Patton and lined him up, then that would be, filth. But actually I think he's going in, he's half got his arm raised to try and put a block in, the block's gone, he's looked to follow the ball and see where it's gone, and the leading arm has gone in, and he deserves to go. But actually, despite my very gently teasing you, I do feel that the outpouring that comes at Ben Flower for this is unfair to a point, because
it's not like
we all know what Ben Flower's career is going to be defined by, and he could win a couple of Super Leagues and a couple of Challenge Cups between now and retiring, and you'll say Ben Flower to somebody and you'll think of that grand final and you'll think of Lance O'Hire and him over the top of him. That's what will define his career. So what happens is now that, unfortunately for him, anytime anything like this happens, despite the length of time between these two incidents, there is going to be a big portion of people, that group of people that you so often refer to as the anyone but group, who will jump on that bandwagon and beat that drum loud and proud. I think that it's something that you could have seen from a lot of other Super League prop forwards, and we wouldn't necessarily have had the outcry that we got because it was Ben Flower, and it's a popularist thing